Hi there, my name is Dr. William Bird. I'm a GP, and this is Chat with the GP. And welcome to this session on physical activity, something very close to my heart. I have been studying this for about 30 years, and it never ceases to amaze me how much benefit you can get from being active, or rather how dangerous it is not to be active. So we're going to go through the very basics. We've only got 10 minutes. So let's start off and understanding what is actually going on. First of all, how much activity should you do? Well, let's all be very official and go with the government guidance. And here you can see this is the government sheet that comes out, and it puts lots of little recommendations here, but there's two big numbers: 150 minutes per week of moderate activity and 75 minutes per week of vigorous activity. That's the recommendation. In the middle, building strength for 2 times a week. That's the muscles. We're going to go into that. Then there's a balance and anti-sedentary behavior and many other things. And then very quickly for children, and this is not babies, this is children, that's 60 minutes a day, okay? 60 minutes a day, often of moderate to vigorous activity, tearing around the place, playing, being outdoors. Doesn't mean sport always. In fact, sport probably contributes a smaller part. This should be the general movement of children all the time. So quickly, what is moderate activity? Moderate is the walking, cycling, gardening, tennis. It gets you out of breath, but you can still have a conversation. Okay, you feel a bit flushed, your heart rate's going up a bit. So it has to have those things. Otherwise, it's not moderate activity. And then vigorous activity is when you get very out of breath to the point where you have to break up sentences when you're talking to someone, and your heart is really going, you're feeling a bit sweaty. And these are the things. A lot of them are sport, but a lot of them are just running as well, and maybe some very heavy gardening or lifting and things like that. And then finally, you've got the muscle strengthening exercises. That's twice a week. We think that has to be the gym. It can be press-ups at home, a TheraBand you can be using, gardening, DIY, lifting heavy, shopping, all of those things. But it's really important that we add that in, because aerobic activity is not quite enough. The muscles have got a great metabolism to prevent diabetes and depression, which is used there. Now, this wasn't in the recommendations, and it's got a ridiculous name of non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And what we're finding here is that when you're sitting, you're not moving around, you're not expending energy. But if you get up and walk around and go to the kitchen to make a cup of tea, or go to the photocopier, or just have a little quick walk at lunchtime, very gently, you won't be getting into the moderate activity because you won't be getting a bit out of breath, but you will be burning off calories. And if we do this all the time, then we burn off a huge number of calories, as opposed to having to always feel it's about exercise or more moderate or vigorous activity. So this is just getting up and down and doing normal things. And we'll come back to this, why it's so important. Finally, the balance there. Tai Chi, yoga, these are really important, not just for the present, but actually as we get older, we memorize these things and they become a big part of our life. So let's have a look at the action. This is very traditional here. 150 minutes, 75 minutes of vigorous activity, or a mix of both. People talk about HIIT, which is a high intensity. Well, yes, you can do that, and that would be, but I wouldn't go straight into that. I would start off building up. And if you've got a medical problem, I would get advice about that. The muscle strengthening exercise twice a week, build up on those, and then test your balance, and then try and get those balance mechanisms going if you aren't feeling very good. But even if you are, anything like Tai Chi and yoga have been shown to have huge benefits to our health. Now, what is using up all the energy in the body? Well, it's something called basal metabolic rate. That's pretty much the whole body just maintaining itself. That's the heart, the liver, the kidneys, the brain, the muscles, the fat. And that uses up 60% of all our energy. Then you've got the NEAT, which is that moving around, getting a cup of coffee, going outdoors gently, just not sitting down. That uses up a lot, almost 20%. Then you've got the thermogenic activity when you digest food. That uses up quite a lot. And then the last little bit, 10%, sorry, is about exercise. So it's only a very small amount you're contributing to the total amount of energy that's used up. So when people say you eat a biscuit of 90 calories and you've got to burn it off, well, don't worry, 90% of that will be burnt off before you even get to the gym because of all these other things going on. Now, that doesn't mean we should not be going to the gym, because there are two things we're looking here. And this is what I want to just get across. These are all the different parts of the body that are contributing. You can see here that muscle uses up, in a man, 398, in a woman it's 277. But fat uses up a lot less. So when you transfer fat to muscle, you start burning off extra calories without even having to try or even have to think about it. So that's just bear that in mind. So let's have a look here. You've got no exercise and you've got the different parts there, but you haven't got the orange. We then move into the next part where you've added a 5K run twice a week. And your energy levels will go up a huge 4%. Okay, that's all. Only 4% of extra energy level. But there is a slight silver lining here. Not only have you burnt off that energy during the run, but you've increased your muscle tone and your muscle bulk, and you've increased the amount of activity you tend to do when you're at home. You move around more after you're becoming fit or active. So that puts it up to another 9%. So those runs aren't just the calories but on the run itself, but they go for later on. So that's really important to know, that you've got a lot of benefit of the burning off. Now, fitness is that run. That will increase your fitness, and we'll start to see about that in a minute. Here, someone has decided to get to that same level, but without doing any running. So you can do that just by moving, fidgeting, getting up and about. If you notice that people who fidget always look thin as rakes. If you're moving around and someone who sits there just absolutely motionless, they tend to be overweight. That's because the majority of all the activity going on causes weight loss. It doesn't necessarily mean you're contributing to the fitness. I hope that's made it clear. How much activity is best if we can't do 150 minutes? Anything. Because you can see the steep rise curve here from just doing 0 hours to doing 1 hour a week. You add nearly 22 months on your life. Add another make it 2 hours and you add another 9 months to those 22. Add another 3 hours, or do 3 hours and you add another 4 months to that total. But doing from nothing to something is where you get the biggest benefit. So try and do something. So here we go. Keep moving all day. Maintain at fidgeting, at moving around. Just keep walking. Yes, we can do the exercise as well, but don't exercise too late. And make sure you at least walk after a meal to try and reduce the sugar. Now, is it best to be fit or fat? Big question. People often ask me this. Well, here's the answer. So this person here is unfit and normal weight. This person here is fit and obese. Okay. So we're going to give their risk of getting metabolic disease on that person who is unfit, but normal weight, 1. Okay. So will this fit and obese person have a greater risk of getting metabolic, which is diabetes and some heart disease and things, or will they have a reduced risk of getting metabolic disease? So either it's going to be above 1 or it's going to be below 1. Well, here's the answer. Significantly lower. So to be fit and obese is safer for you for metabolic problems later on than being unfit and normal weight. So fitness, which is only achieved by doing more moderate to vigorous activity, is really important as goal to get to. Very quickly, we're going to go through the benefits of exercise. I don't think you need to know too much about it, but it does reduce depression, it does reduce dementia, it's anti-inflammatory, it has a reduced impact on stress hormones, and there's something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which mends all the brain, the BDNF, preventing depression and dementia. So that's one way it can really help. The second is cardiovascular disease. Probably don't need to tell you that it's good for your heart, because most people know that, but it does all these things. It makes the blood less sticky, it reduces this inflammation, puts your blood pressure down, etc. And diabetes, of course, hugely important for that. It reduces it by about 30%. It actually lowers blood sugar, which is why you should always try and exercise after a meal. And finally, cancer, again, it can reduce it by about 30%, and lots of benefits from the anti-inflammatory side of it. So, in a summary, let's just quickly go through that. It is the single most important action you can take to be healthy. It really does reduce most of the long-term conditions, and it makes you feel better in yourself and you get more energy. It's got to be fun, it's got to be sociable, it's got to be something you feel you're looking forward to and at that moment in your life. So it will change. Don't be too worried if you're going through a bad phase, but do get back into it again. Try and get that walking up, try and get that fidgeting and moving around more rather than sitting. And if you can get a few activities which are vigorous, you'll get your fitness up, and we know that's a lot better. But any movement is better than no movement. So thank you very much indeed. Look forward to seeing you in the next webinar, which is going to be at 1:30 on Wednesday. Thank you. Bye-bye.